Welcome, everyone, to Threads of Our Matriarchs. My name is Kelly Dillon of Empowered. Welcome, welcome.
And my name is Mengda Sangwanpeng with Bossy, and welcome to this Reimagine event. A little bit about Reimagine. Reimagine is a nonprofit organization catalyzing a uniquely powerful community, people of different backgrounds, ages, races, and faiths, and no faith, coming together in the hopes of healing ourselves and the world. We specifically support each other in facing adversity, loss, and mortality, and at our own pace, actively challenging life's biggest challenges into meaningful action and growth.
The majority of us here are from the United States, also known as Turtle Island by Native Americans and their allies. I ask you to join me in acknowledging Indigenous communities in North America, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. I'm stating this because it's a step to continue dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and white supremacy. We're interested in knowing where you're located. Please put that in the chat. And there's a very helpful map that will be linked below, and you can check that out and learn more about locations of Indigenous people.
And for those of you who wish, there's a closed captioning icon to get a live transcript of what's being said. And you can save the chat by clicking on the three dots in the chat box. And feel free to send us a note in the chat if anyone is having any tech issues. We're here to help. And everyone who has been registered for this workshop will have a follow-up email with a recording. So you will be getting this recording afterwards if you have to leave early or whatnot.
So we are here today on this Mother's Day, coming together to weave the threads of connection through honoring the matriarchs of our own lives. We'll nurture our relationships to our mother figures by writing a letter and sharing our stories. We'll close with the Bossy ritual, tying life-affirming blessings to one another, symbolizing heart-centered unity and interconnection.
So thank you all so much for being here and spending time with us on this Mother's Day. Before we get into sharing a little bit more about Kelly and I's story and what brought us here and getting to know all of you, we just want to share some community agreements before we get into connecting with one another, sharing about ourselves, sharing our stories and experiences. Just generally, we have these we want to create a space of safety and connection and enable for us to do that. We just want to have these shared agreements, and we ask that everyone remains respectful of one another, that we're all individuals with our own values, beliefs, opinions, and experiences, to keep in confidence and listen with patience and compassion to the stories that you hear here. We want to refrain from comparing one another or giving advice. Simply by us being here and bearing witness and listening is just enough. We want everyone to take personal responsibility for making the most out of this as a learning opportunity, a space for connection, and really for the benefit of our own lives and the collective well-being of all. And lastly, we just ask you to take care of yourself. So we're all experiencing different layers of what we're going through in our day-to-day lives. So feel free, if you ever need to take a break, take a break. If you need to get water, if you need to leave and come back, feel free to do so. And also, if you just need to ask for clarification or anything that may be distracting, always feel free to reach out to us. We're here to support this as a space of connection and safety.
Absolutely. And if you will please, everyone type in the chat your mother figure or figures who you are honoring today. We want to uplift their names as we move forward. Leonora Mims, Carol, Walterine, Carmen, sending so much love. Linda and Juanita, Lena, yes, Dorothy, Stella, Dorothy, all mothers and the mother, Sylvia, Sheila, Stephanie, giving thanks. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you. And just to share how Mengda and I came to be connected to one another, as we are all connecting now. I lost my mother in 2013, and she lived a 17-year diagnosis of congestive heart failure and finally transitioned in 2013. And at that time, she was not offered any hospice care or palliative care services. And she was in the hospital and she begged me to go home. She wanted to go home. She wanted to not be in the hospital. And I didn't know that was possible because we weren't educated as a family by any social workers, hospital doctors, nurses, or anyone. And so her final breath was taken in that hospital, which now I later learned was not the only choice. And so I have now, taken up the goal and the mission for me through my business Empowered is to educate BIPOC communities about end-of-life planning and education so that we can be empowered to take choices and own and honor our loved ones and our own choices through the end of our lives. So Mengda and I connected through this as well.
Thank you for sharing, Kelly, and I can resonate with definitely some parts of that. In 2020, my mother was diagnosed with cancer and she was 48 years old. And the same thing with my family. We've never had to navigate such an intimate diagnosis within our small family. She did not want to do any of the treatments. She just wanted to go straight to hospice. And so for me, I ended up helping her at the end of her final days. She transitioned probably within a month of time. And unfortunately, during her last days, it was an isolating experience because there's no one else there in terms of navigating hospice, navigating funeral directors, navigating all these different end-of-life institutions without any prior knowledge at all. And unfortunately, they were very challenging experiences. So I found myself intuitively helping my mother pass throughout the entire dying process, washing and tending to her body, planning a funeral, and just really having to manage a household of tasks that come with a loss. And from that experience, one of my friends had told me about death doulas or end of life doulas, and I never heard of it. They were just saying, that's what you're doing. So through my grief and through time, I think it was years after, I ended up finding a program that really resonated with me called Going with Grace. And everything came together for me, whereas like everything was much more understood in hindsight, where I wish I would have had that education, that kind of support, that kind of guidance through my experience, how to have even made different choices. So I found myself extremely passionate and still passionate about really integrating the end of life, integrating loss and grief into our daily lives. So it's a much more supportive and empowering experience for all of us. And that's when I ended up creating Bossy. This was right before the pandemic hit. I found myself extremely isolated in grief, and amongst my peers, no one was really talking about loss. And I just started by doing some events. And since then, I have been doing a lot of events throughout the entire pandemic, working with folks one-to-one, doing work with organizations, and just really creating experiences that are more educational, whether it's a monthly offering called You Exist of mine that you go through your own understandings of the end of life and grief, and or flower essences that help support you through grief. I've just really been on this wild ride since, and I met Kelly throughout all of this, and I'm so grateful to meet all of you because this is something Kelly and I both have spoke of, is we have never felt so connected in such a deep and meaningful way through finding others that have lost folks in their lives. So again, we could not be more grateful for all of you being here today.
Yeah. Um, it's a beautiful gift to have loss and grief bring you to a new community and new tender hearts to share space with. And I'm just so grateful for all of you for these opportunities. And so we are going to, if you will, please just share for me in the chat, just one word to describe how you're feeling in this moment as we're joining together. Lament, tender, hopeful, bittersweet, grief, vulnerable, opened up, open, grateful, thankful. Yes, 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 yes. All the things, right? Grateful and community, absolutely. And so now we are going to honored, yes, grateful, I love it, transition into our exercise together. And it's called a legacy love letter. And I am a Willow end of life educator, and we do a lot of workshops, as I mentioned, for people to prepare and to plan for their one day, someday inevitable death. And one of the workshops that we do is for people who are still here to consider the people who they will be leaving behind, whether it be a partner, a spouse, a child, an aunt, uncle, cousin, best friend, someone that may be still here when you transition. And think about if you could write a letter and share your love in a letter that they will be able to cherish for the rest of their lives while you go. And so taking that for this opportunity, I thought it would be beautiful to think about our loved ones, our matriarchs who have transitioned, and take an opportunity to write a love letter to them and to share our joy and gratitude and honoring and love for them and with them. And what's interesting is we know that all relationships are not one-dimensional, and many of us may have experienced kaleidoscope of emotions or feelings through our relationships with our mothers. Not everyone had an opportunity to have, the most healthy relationships. Some people's have some trauma associated with their relationship with their matriarch, and we want to honor that too. That all of that deserves a space to honor and love. And so we're going to take some time today and write a letter to our loved ones. So if you can gather your pens or writing utensils, and I'm going to put in the chat our prompts here. Bear with me a moment while I find them.
And we just want to encourage you to Really lean into any of these prompts if they resonate with you. Fantastic. If they don't, this is really an opportunity for you to form this connection to your matriarch, your loved one, here or gone. And Kelly just put them in the chat so you can see them there.
So I'll read them. We will take 5 minutes because we have such a short time together to have a quiet moment. But the prompts are: thank you for what I love, appreciate about you is the ways you enhance my life include I forgive you for, please forgive me for. And so if we will all just take some time, we're going to mute ourselves together, and in community, we will honor our loved ones through our words from our heart.
Okay, then feels as if we're as complete. If there's anyone that would like to continue sharing the chat, please do so. And we would like to just share a short ritual that we can do together before we close and just remind everyone of some self-care practices as we leave. So today we're sharing a short Bossy ritual, and Bossy rituals come from Laos, where my family's from. And the idea is that you tie a white string around someone else's wrist and you give them a blessing, a prayer, a wish from your heart. And this is something that is very symbolic and life affirming of one another, the connections that we've made here today, the connections for those that are near or far. And if you'd like to participate in this, we could just take one moment to close our eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. And we can do this individually together. And I'd like to encourage you to take a deep inhale through your nose and let everything out through your exhale. And in this moment, if you'd like to participate in this Bossy ritual, imagine yourself tying a white string around your loved one's wrist. Maybe it was the person that you wrote a letter to. Maybe it's to a community of folks. Or maybe it's even to your grief. And whatever comes intuitively to you is just right, whether it may you alleviate your suffering or may you be happy. You can take a moment to envision yourself tying that white string around the person, persons, or even the world. And giving them that wish, that prayer, and that blessing from your heart. Whenever you feel ready, you can come back to this space. If you'd like to share a blessing to one another in the chat, feel free to do so. If you'd like to share the blessing that you shared with your loved one, feel free to do so. So just some of these blessings in the chat from ourselves to each other. I wish you joy. Blessings to all of your hearts from mine. Big blessings to all. May you all feel the peace of being loved. May you feel the comfort of grief as evidence of your love. Blessings to our hearts and spirits today and always. Sending sweetness, sending light and love to all the souls sharing this space today. Blessing from my heart to yours. And I would love to wish everyone here today a lot of ease, that sense of being supported and nourished by community. And just a lot of gratitude for being here today. We have another blessing. Many thanks to and for you all. Continued blessings and gentle accompaniment.
And we have a few closing announcements before we sign off. Thank you, Reimagine, for holding this space for us. First and foremost, we appreciate this platform for community. And you can join Reimagine again on Father's Day, June 18th. Nefertiti Moore will lead a death meditation and living funeral ceremony to honor our fathers, father figures, and ancestors. And the link to that event is in the chat. And Mengda, if you want to share how people can stay connected with you in the chat, and I'll also share my email if anyone wants to stay connected for any upcoming workshops hosted by me through Empowered. And just want to take another moment to express deep, sincere gratitude for all in this space together. And thank you so much for sharing our time together.